a satanic ritual abuse survivor, and I would just like to talk about this, that I have survived amazingly, despite all the efforts that they made against me to push me to the limit. And it's I don't know, but for Satanists and pagans, it's important for them to they believe that cruelty is cool, that severity is what is necessary in order to be successful in life, and that has always been the pagan principle, the philosophy of satanic or pagan societies. And I don't know, first comes to mind are the Spartans, who believe that if they saw weakness in a child, that they have to kill the child in order to breed a severe and fierce and virile population. And it's these kinds of principles that Darwinism is based on, even though there is absolutely no evidence to support that that life is whatever should be cruel and brutal, and that this principle of survival of the fittest. So I don't know. So it's important for these people to impart these values on their children. That severity and cruelty are good. That violence is that might is right, and so a child will naturally. This is an Islamic principle. It's that a child is born on the correct path. So a child will naturally, in most cases, as far as I know, have a sense of love for a furry animal. That's why children are always given stuffed animals or whatever. Little girls would have dollies and stuff, and so that a child is naturally innocent, and so that has to be beaten out of the child, and they do that with satanic rituals like torturing little animals. So the child, or torturing people, but through successive stages, where initially the child might be exposed to just the idea of abuse, and that's a shock then to the child, and the child learns to deal with that until it doesn't cause nightmares anymore, and then the child is exposed to the ritual murder of a small animal, and the animal is slaughtered quickly so that there's no suffering, and then the child has nightmares for a few weeks, but that goes away. So then so then through these successive stages, till when the child is 15 or 20 years old, then he's participating in the torture and murder of human beings and eating the flesh of these people, and that is that's the pagan ritual. That's how pagans raise their children. So they have to. It's important for them to have somebody in the community who they can abuse, so that the children can learn to tolerate this kind of treatment, and then that person then would have to be would be run down and marginalized, and so that people would recognize that what could happen to them if they did not toe the line of the pagan philosophy. If they decided that if somebody decided I'm not going to participate in this any longer, then the threat is hanging over their heads that you'll end up like this person, and that's who I was. And they're still trying to cast me in that role of being the ritual abuse victim, so that they can teach their children how to be severe. But this thing, so I'm a survivor of satanic ritual abuse, and this thing started when I was a child. I was just branded, marked as an infant probably to be a ritual abuse victim. And so I was neglected. Nobody spoke to me. My mind did not develop at all. I was left in silence. I was malnourished. So you have no glucose to your brain, and nobody's talking to you. Nobody's teaching you. Nobody's giving you any affection. So that's how it's how it was for me. Through my childhood, and then it continued like that into through my 30s until just before I turned 40. I was put in such position at the turn of God, and then I had religious experiences, and then God rescued me from these people. But they're still trying to get me. They still cast me in this role as being you know, the victim, the fool, or whatever they want. I don't know. I guess that's what it would be, the fool. But they're horrible people. And the satanic and pagan symbols are all over the city, like with the Calgary Tower at the center of down at the bottom of Center Street. They've got truncated pyramids everywhere. They've got pentagrams in parks. They've got pillars in parks, and all these biblically prohibited edifices that they have, erected everywhere. You know, and down here by the river there is a spring. It's called Silver Springs, and it's a small spring, but this water comes out of the side of the hill, and there are some very well-worn paths that run to the top to the spring, and there's a boardwalk that comes down this little valley down to the spring. So a lot of people come down there. I've never seen that many people down there, but I can just visualize them all, and at a solstice or whatever, or an equinox, carrying torches, chanting, and wearing their robes and Halloween costumes, and then offering a sacrificial victim at the source of this spring, so that the blood runs down this little creek into the river, and that they've got some strange mystical understanding of the water and blood, and this water coming out of the side of the hill, and I don't know, just it's hard to get into the mind. You'd have to get into the mind of these natives, really these barbaric natives, to get a full understanding of what goes on. But that's basically it. But I'm a survivor of satanic ritual abuse, and I'm a Muslim now. I'm 48, and I have survived all this time despite their efforts to drive me to suicide. And we'll see what becomes of it, because Allah has power over all things. So I hate this city. I hate the people that live here. I hate their pagan materialistic, self-absorbed arrogance. And I curse them, and I invoke the curse. Allah's already cursed them. You can tell that Allah's cursed them by the character. Allah puts like this disease in their hearts, and this is it. Their behavior, their hard-heartedness. Anyway, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.